I remember the good old days, 4 weeks ago, when they just called us deplorables, okay? I could live with that. I even liked it a little bit. Now, you're a traitor. You're guilty of sedition. It's all over the top. And it's lies, actually, lies. But it does remind me about what President Trump said a lot on the campaign trail.
Never forget, they are coming after me because I am fighting for you, and that's true.
And now that President Trump is off the scene, at least for now, I think it's even worse. They are coming for us, just like this meme maker predicted. In reality, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way. And what are they doing? They're using January 6th, everybody, as a pretext. They are using that moment to try to cancel us and what we stand for. I'll say again, that was a horrible moment, and those responsible are being prosecuted and held to account. But again, they're exploiting this. Here's David Plouffe. Remember that name? He ran Barack Obama's campaign manager. He said this on Twitter: "They're even crazier without him around," talking about us, Trump supporters. And he went on, talking about Republicans in general. Listen to this. "Most in the GOP giving the green light for a future coup attempt. At some point this year, we may be able to stop wearing masks, but the vigilance required to save our democracy will take decades." Most in the GOP. I mean, give me a break, but he can get away with that because, yeah, he's on the left, a friend of Obama. He's considered cool by the left-leaning media. So where are we? We've got President Biden. How much longer can this go on? I mean, we got to talk about this, right? He just does not have the energy, the command. He seems like he's just along for the ride. And sometimes it's kind of sad to watch. I believe this is what Barack Obama was talking about, though. Let's be honest. Who's really pulling the strings?
If I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. Wow. I'd be fine with that.
I don't know if the country's fine with that. That seems to be what's kind of happening. The forces loyal to Barack Obama seem to be in charge of the Biden-Harris administration, also known as the Harris-Biden administration. Just ask Kamala Harris. All right, but today, the environment was on the agenda, and let's listen to what happened.
We see small business and master electricians designing, installing, and innovating energy-conserving technologies in building homes and buildings.
A lot about building stuff and workers and jobs. I kept thinking about who's actually good at that? Who actually has experience doing that stuff? The previous guy, all his life, building things, buildings, houses, installing things. Joe Biden just does not have that background, but a little bit more from today.
We see these workers building new buildings, installing 500,000 new electric vehicle charging stations across the country as we modernize our highway system to adapt to the changes that have already taken place. We see American consumers switching to electric vehicles through rebates and incentives, and the residents of our cities and towns breathing cleaner air and fewer kids living with asthma.
All right, a couple of things here. Asthma, by the way, just remembered, Joe Biden got out of military service because of his asthma. Although he noted in his autobiography that he was a great football player and loved sports. Asthma, could play football, but not serve in the military. Okay. He mentioned electric cars. You know who has been onto this for some time? Nancy Pelosi, ice cream lover, Speaker of the House. Pelosi's husband bets up to $1 million that Tesla will flourish during Biden's administration. Made some interesting stock moves earlier. All right, but I mentioned Joe Biden doesn't have much experience building stuff, but he does have experience with contracts. You know, those big government contracts, that gets him excited. He said this a couple of months ago.
The President of the United States has control over $600 billion in signing federal contracts. Everything from one of the largest auto fleets and trucking fleets in the world to infrastructure. As Dan will remember, when the president asked me to make sure we got the Recovery Act and $800 billion was going to be distributed to keep us from going into a depression, he gave me the authority to run that from beginning to end.
Contracts. That's what gets Joe Biden excited. That's what gets a lot of the left excited. Contracts. Joe Biden likes to hand out contracts. You know, in a way, Donald Trump was a contractor for most of his life. Let's put it up side by side. Who has more experience actually getting things done for people? A guy who hangs around talking in the United States Senate, or somebody who spent most of his life on construction sites, huh? Last time Joe got really into contracts, though, and energy, today was all about energy. Who remembers Solyndra, that solar company that the United States of America took a great big bath on? Anybody? All right. By the way, who is Joe Biden's partner in all environmental issues? John Kerry, former Secretary of State, former presidential candidate. There he is. Have you ever wondered what the heck John Kerry is doing back on the scene? Well, he is close to Joe. I mean, very close. I think he's a close talker, just like we know Joe can be a close talker and a little bit hands-on, shall we say. Also, John Kerry was Secretary of State while Hunter Biden was walking around having all kinds of conversations with Ukraine and China. Interesting, right? All right. I'm not expecting too much from this energy initiative out of the White House. I don't know. I don't mean to be pessimistic here. On the optimistic side, I don't think impeachment is going to go anywhere. All right? Take a look. Back by popular demand. A lot of people told me they loved the Hogan's Heroes little effect here. But I watch these people very closely, and I realize that one of those managers is a fellow named Raskin, all right? Raskin. He's a Democrat from Maryland, and he is really keen to impeach President Trump. Listen to this. It's very interesting.
The members there together to count the Electoral College votes. And this is supposed to be a ministerial pro forma kind of action where we count the electoral votes sent in by the states.
Okay, he's talking about January 6th. When you come in, you count the votes, no big deal. Pro forma, ministerial, all for show. Back in 2017, though, under that Electoral Count Act that he was just speaking about, guess who stood up to object to the electoral count for Donald Trump?
I have an objection because 10 of the 29 electoral votes cast by Florida were cast by electors not lawfully certified because they violated Florida's prohibition against dual office holding.
Debate is out of order. Section 15 and 17 of the Title III of the United States Code require that any objection be presented in writing, signed by both members of the House of both a member of the House of Representatives and a senator. Is the objection in writing and signed not only by the member of the House of Representatives, but also by a senator?
It is in writing, Mr. President.
Is it signed by a senator?
Not as of yet, Mr. President.
In that case, the objection cannot be entertained.
Isn't that interesting? That's what essentially Josh Hawley, Gosar, those members of Congress and the Senate did on January 6th. And there's Mr. Raskin. Here's what I think is happening. The best defense is a good offense. All of this impeachment talk gets Republicans, inhibits them really from taking a good hard look at the 2020 election. Serious questions remain. Heck, they got to look at Russia. We know that turned out to be a ridiculous hoax. We can't look at the election. I sure hope they get around to it because mail-in balloting, lots and lots of problems associated with that have not been fixed. And also, all kinds of Secretary of States in at least 4 states changed the rules, perhaps unconstitutionally, and that had a major impact on the election. All right. Meanwhile, watching Joe Biden sign all those executive orders got me thinking about our former president. When he signed executive orders, let's take a look. You tell me who's got the energy to pull off the presidency. Let's take it full, if you don't mind. We got Donald Trump. I used to love how he did this. He showed it off. He's like very proud of it. And you got Mr. Biden just kind of waiting for the next thing to happen. And that's the difference between these two men. One was on top of it, really driving it. The other one is clearly in the passenger seat, I think in the rear passenger seat. Remember what's happening, though, with Donald Trump off the scene, at least for now. In reality, they're not after me, they're after you. He was just in the way. That's right, they're after us. And we have to be careful, and we have to be strong.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.